there was a committee formed to discuss the firing of some scientists from a microbiology lab in Winnipeg. This happened kind of during the COVID pandemic, and there has been some. I don't want to say conspiracy around it because it really isn't a conspiracy at this point, but there has been some very important questions being asked about what exactly those scientists were doing in that lab in Winnipeg in 2019 and what ramifications that might have had in relation to the COVID pandemic. So I'm going to pull up another article here. And this is just a couple days ago. So the article headline from the National Post is "Fired Scientists at Winnipeg Lab Worked Closely and Covertly with Chinese Government," CCIS report says. This is from February 28th, so just a few days ago. And yesterday, a committee determined that even with this report saying, this is the quote from CCIS, the service assesses that Mrs. I don't want to mispronounce her name. I think it's Chu. Mrs. Chu developed deep cooperative relationships with a variety of People's Republic of China institutions and has intentionally transferred scientific knowledge and materials to China in order to benefit the PRC government. Reads a letter from January 2021 recommending her security clearance be revoked. So, a committee in the House of Commons determined that even with that CCIS, very unambiguous CCIS statement, this is not worth investigating. Chu was found to have shipped sensitive materials outside of the National Microbiology Lab without approval, including antibodies to the China National Institute for Food and Drug Control, as well as some others to the United Kingdom and the United States for testing. She also admitted to having sent several emails to research associates through personal email accounts on Gmail or Yahoo instead of her personal corporate account. As for Cheng, this is the second scientist, he not only used his personal email accounts and unauthorized external drives to conduct government business, but also breached security policies regarding students under his supervision by giving them access to the scientific network through a computer in the laboratory. This Chu, the main scientist here, the woman, she kind of, from what I understand, she kind of rose to prominence by having quite a multifaceted approach using monoclonal antibodies to essentially to cure Ebola in a laboratory setting. So there was initially some worries that there may have been really potentially lethal substances being shipped overseas without proper procedures. Apparently, she was not necessarily known for being for following the letter of the law when it came to transferring samples. I'm going to share another article here, which even further complicates the matter of like why they would say this is not something worth investigating, because apparently in June of 2021, Patty Hajdu said, "In this particular case, the information requested has both privacy and national security implications. Compliance with the order without proper safeguards in place would put sensitive information at the risk of public release." So this is something that apparently is so sensitive that they can't discuss it publicly, but at the same time, it's also not worth investigating. So here it shows Chu had earlier been responsible for a shipment of Ebola and don't know what this is, Henipa viruses to China's Wuhan Institute of Virology. That's very interesting. But even though they don't know what it is and haven't investigated it, there is no connection between the transfer of viruses cited in this order and the subsequent
they know for
departure
sure
of these
it's
employees.
not that.
No, and there's definitely no link to COVID-19. They definitely know that. So these are the perfect examples of our government officials talking out of both sides of their mouths. But it doesn't stop there, because actually, in that same year, in 2021, just a little bit later, Canadians must know what our lab's role was in COVID's origins. China resists more investigation in its borders, but one strand of the trail leads to Winnipeg, writes author and journalist Elaine Diwar. Now, you can't see the full article on this view, but if I go to a reader view, there is a section where, let me see if I can find the section. Here we go. This is the Winnipeg lab. The NML is Canada's only high containment lab for the study of human pathogens. Its top level 4 lab, the sort devoted to the most dangerous microbes, was led by, again, I'm sorry, I think Xianggo Chu, recipient in 2018 of Governor General's Innovation Award for an antibody cocktail against Ebola. Xianggo Chu and her husband, Keding Cheng, were marched out of that lab in 2019 by the RCMP, their security clearances and access to data allegedly withdrawn. Our federal government claimed this was nothing serious, just something to do with administrative matters. Yet it occurred just months after Chu sent 15 strains of Ebola, again this Nipah and other glycoproteins, to the WIV. Those samples helped seed the WIV's own newly opened Level 4 lab. And what do we know, James, about Wuhan's Institute of Virology Level 4 lab?
We know it was denied as having anything to do with the last 4 years.
Just like these scientists being escorted out by the RCMP and having CCIS reports written about them, just like that has nothing to do with this either. And you're a conspiracy theorist if you think otherwise, sir.
Well, even just taking it on face value, you listed not only just like the sharing of like a result of something, the physically sending lab samples. Like these are very clear examples of a breach of policy, the breach of conduct. And why are they not investigating this other than to cover up any other potential corruption? That would be my conclusion there, that the lack of looking at this further implicates enough of the people around that it would create too much collateral damage. Therefore, they don't want to look into it further.